The soul exchange has been made. It's 3 o'clock, but I've come up with a new soul. This soul is a continuum of the soul of yesterday. I've had a vision and an explication of the highest levels of Rod Low. In Rod Low, it says that they are the three upper sephirots of Keter, Hokmah, and Bina, of Atik Yomin. What is not explicated there is that there is a Da'as that appears. Da'as, which is never counted as a sephirot, is actually appears in Rod Low. There are only 3 sephirots and Das. The holiday of Purim explicates this very well, because in Purim and in the Megillah they talk about a Keter Malkus. Now, how does Keter Malkus appear? It appears when Da'as appears. So when we count Da'as, we don't even have to have it there. It's an invisible bind. It invisibly appears. And the actuality that appears is not the Da'as, but the din of Da'as that actually appears. This din of Da'as is actually Malkus. Imagine that the din of Da'as is Malkus, which is the exact feminine. Let's do the gematria of Da'as. Well, let's just get the din of Da'as. So it's Da'as, Dalet. So the din is Lamed Tov, 430. Then Ayin, which is the regular gematria is 130, and so the din here is 60. And Tov, Vav, so the din is 6. So it's 430 and 60, that's 490, and Vav, 6, that's 496, and that's the gematria of Malkus. So the din of Da'as is Malkus. And this is what appears up there in Rod Low when we're talking about a Keter Malkus. Because at this stage, Keter is going to appear with Da'as. And Da'as, and the din of Da'as is going to appear as Keter Malkus. Now, Da'as could also appear with this, because in fact it does appear, but we don't see it. We only see it as Malkus, because we see it as the feminine up there. The feminine physicality. And the whole idea is that this is where the concept of jouissance comes in. Jouissance. Jouissance means orgasm, but basically it's feminine orgasm. It's pleasure, jouir. It's pleasure with no purpose. Pleasure with no child, so to speak. Pure pleasure. And this is the difference between the male orgasm and the female orgasm. The male orgasm is necessary for the creation of the child. However, from the female's point of view, it's unnecessary. An orgasm is not necessary for childbirth. It's pure pleasure. Jouissance. Jouir. Of course, there's a correspondence to the word play. So when you see children playing, or when you play piano, play music, it's pure pleasure, it's of no purpose. That's why it's so high. I'll be telling a story of what happened to me yesterday with I was playing music at 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:30 in the evening. It was just after Shabbos, one way of looking at Shabbos, and I wasn't going to do it because it wasn't the full 72 minutes. And I start playing, I'm playing 2 minutes, and I get a knock on the door. The people next door who I mistakenly have said, "Oh, if my piano music bothers you, please knock on the door and I'll stop." They knock on my door, and I was writing a nice song. And they asked me to stop. They were putting the baby to bed early. It was 6:30 at night. I had to stop. See, I have no compulsion to play music. Not like some of the other things that I have, like a repetition compulsion. I have no compulsion. But when I sit down, it's because I feel like creating. So I stop, but, I wanted to play. Obviously, it was fated for me. First time in my life somebody rang the bell at 6:30 in the evening. It's not too late, And that's why I've received this soul today. Piano playing is pure pleasure. It serves no purpose. And so let's get back to this. After that interlude. In that level where Malkus, as the din of Da'as appears, we get to a very deep level here. We get to Ein Sof, because in my estimation, Ein Sof, which also has 10 Sephirots, we're at Keter as at the Teferet of Ein Sof. Chokmah is at the Netzach. Bina at the Hod. And Das is at the Yesod of Ein Sof. And its din is at Malkus of Ein Sof. These are the highest realms of Radlo, brought to you by in Lacanian psychology as the three aspects of the real, the imaginary, the imaginary and the symbolic. But in later Lacan, he has the thing that ties these three in the Baromean knot together. And what is that ties it together? The deepest aspect. What he calls a synthome. Basically, it's the fetish. Basically, it's the sexual. The thing that holds everybody together is their sexual fetish. The sexual desire that's deep within their psyche, the thing that makes them uniquely individual. When you're on the Ganges in India and you see a yogi have his hand in the air for eternity, and that's his yoga posture, that's his synthome. That's his individual fetish. When you see the celibate, his individual thing that ties everything together sexually is that he doesn't have orgasm. The not is the higher form of the having. So for the celibate, sexuality is all the time. Because he doesn't have the coming and going of the orgasm. He doesn't have the arrival, the coming, and then the downward action. It's not much different than the myth of Sisyphus. When he rolls the stone, the rock up the mountain, and it never gets over the mountain, and the mountain comes, and the rock rolls down. And Camus says, as Sisyphus is walking down the mountain, you must imagine Sisyphus happy. Well, that's what he's talking about. Must imagine him happy because he never gets over the mountain. But there's a up and a down push for the celibate. There's no up and down push because he never gets tired because he never has orgasm. There's never a petite mort of the orgasm. And that's what eternal life is. Eternal life is the living without orgasm. Christians know this from the Christ principle of having a priest, not being married or not having sex. It's been brought out here recently because of all the priests being defrocked. But that's still the principle behind it. The sexual component is what makes the real. The real, the imaginary, and the symbolic of the Lacanian world, which I will give it a different time. Because 35 years ago I wanted to do that, and the head person in the Lacanian group here in the he had nothing. This Kabbalah has nothing to do with Lacanian thought. 25 years later, I think she apologized to me. I forget. But so there's a fourth level up there in the knot of three. The three becomes the four when you add da'as there. Have you taken a look at the tefillin recently? The 3-pronged shin on the right and the 4-pronged shin on the left. Isn't this what happens in the threeness when you add the vav, so to speak, on the shin? And that vav on the shin, the 4th shin, the number 4 is the 4th spot in the highest level of Chokmah, of Keta at top, Chokmah, Bina, and now a Das. Isn't that the 4th? That's a Vav. And that Vav I add to the word Da'as itself. So we have Da'as, which is in its normative gematria, 474, plus a Vav. So I call it Va-Da'as here. That's 480. And 480 is the gematria of Ein Sof. Sitra Akra, which is the letters Samech Aleph, which is the hipuk, the reversal of Aleph Samech, which stands for Ein Sof. So Da'as, and as Va-Da'as, and this adding of the Vav, which is a sexual component, and the number 6. And this Vav may well be the 6 cities of refuge, the 6 days of the week, the 6 words of the Shema. The 6th Sephirot of Zia Ampen, which is Yesod, because the whole thing is sexual. And how did this sexual component start? The sexual component is what's given over to the sun. What I called yesterday the Aven, the stone. This is what's given over to the sun at the orgasm of the inception. The father's orgasm to the mother, the man to the woman at inception, conception, or whatever, at the sexual act. La plaisir. The pleasure that the father has at orgasm is the inherent pleasure given over to the son. That's the bodily pleasure, and therefore everything that happens in life is a sexual pleasure. You see this and know this in women because everything they do is a fetish item. I went with a woman to a store yesterday and she looked at clothes. Looking at clothes. Each thing is a fetish item. Then pocketbooks. Shoes. They're all fetish items. Then she goes and gets her hair done and her nails done, all pleasure. The body is pleasure. Pleasure is the thing that holds the whole thing together. And that's why in the final analysis, Basimka is the thing that holds everything together. You have to be happy at all times. Even in the death camps. Even when you're getting hit on the head because you are part of the pleasure of your father at conception, at orgasm. What he felt at orgasm is the whole deal. So you're going to get hit on the head in the real, in the mamish, in the actual. But no, underneath all this, it's all pleasure. It's all sexual pleasure that was communicated to you in the word Even, in the foundation stone. This is the Even Hashetia, this foundation stone in the temple of the world, the Botsina de Kartanuta. That's the hard spark. The hard spark, the hard on. Botsina de Kartanuta. The whole thing is a sexual, that's why it's the snake in the Gan Eden. The slang term for penis, a snake. This snake, the Nahash, has the same gematria as Mashiach. Turning the curse into pleasure. I think, don't they even call a woman's period a curse? For a woman, it doesn't even take an orgasm for a child. It's pure pleasure. And a Jewish soul is woman's orgasm. And that's why it's a Keter Malkus. It's a woman's orgasm is higher than the man's. The man has a function with his orgasm. That's why he's given the commandment of Priya Varivya. A woman has no function. It's pure pleasure. It's piano playing. It's walking down the street, looking at herself in the mirror, in the reflection of, not even mirrors, reflection of the windows. Because a woman is only herself and her image. For a man, it's a man and a woman's image. And these levels of pure pleasure is the thing that holds together Rod Lo. And that's why there are 4 letters in the term Rod Lo. Resh, Dalet, Lamed, and Aleph. In an area where there are only 3 Sephirots. Because it's 4th Sephirot, it's Keter Malkus as the din of Da'as. And there's 2 levels there in Da'as, because the Da'as, when you say a woman has no Da'as, because it's Da'as, that's the male orgasm in Da'as. But the din is Malkus. And the din is pleasure without any orgasm. So in a certain sense, Da'as as a yesod and Malkus go together as one here. And that's well, it's true. And that's why one who eats, that's its yesod, one who eats on the 9th of Tishri is as if he fasts the 10th of Tishri. How this 9th and the 10th go together. How 9 and 10 go together and make 19. 19, which is the din, by the way. Well, of the 45 name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. 26 and 19. And that's the male name. And this female component goes along with him because his name in the 45 name is also Adam. And Adam has a din of dam, blood, and that's woman also by definition. It's the red fluid as opposed to the semen, which is a white fluid. Shema here because you're not going to see too much, are you? And that's the beauty of the analysis from words. Man is a medaber, speaking animal. And the symbolic and the imaginary only can get you to the real, but the whole thing is predicated on the sexual. And that's what's so beautiful because it's total pleasure. This total pleasure for me is explicated, is signified by what I call the fetish. Each person has his own fetish. Don't try to dissolve your fetish. Recognize it. Recognize how it appears and why. And this is what I've received at 3:30 in the morning from the new soul spark that entered.